Gabby.
And I'm Shanna.
And together, we're 27 Travels.
And if you don't know anything about us, we are a lesbian travel couple based in Brooklyn, New York. And it's June, which means it's Pride Month!
Yeah! So happy Pride Month. I mean, I think this is our first time this month yet doing something on this channel about Pride Month whatsoever.
Yes. We wanted to come on and kind of just talk about something that incorporates travel and us being lesbians.
So travel and pride, our two favorite things, joining as one for this video.
So today we are going to be talking about what it is like traveling the world as a lesbian couple.
If you are not part of the LGBTQ community, you might be thinking to yourself right now, like, why do I need to know about why it's different to travel as an LGBTQ person or specifically a lesbian couple? It's exactly the same as traveling as a straight person. And if you are thinking that, you would definitely be wrong.
X. Major X.
But I mean, for every single person in the LGBTQ community who presents differently and is different sexualities, there's a lot of different gender identities. There's so many different things that you can face then while traveling. So I guess we're going to talk about our specific experiences traveling as a lesbian couple.
There's still over 70 countries where being a member of the LGBTQ community is illegal, where homosexuality is illegal. There are even countries where it's still punishable by death, and there's even more countries where same-sex marriage isn't legal. So there are a lot of things for us to consider when we're traveling. So the first thing that I want to note out there is Gabby and I pass as feminine. We are two cisgender white women, and whenever we're traveling to another country, we have the privilege of just passing as two women as long as we're not showing PDA. So there are other members of the LGBTQ community who will not have this privilege, and their experiences will be different than ours. This is just our experience talking about what it's like for us personally to travel together. So I think the first thing when it comes to traveling as a same-sex couple, or specifically for us as a lesbian couple, is we always do a lot of research whenever we're going to a new destination. So the first thing that we do whenever we're planning a trip anywhere, we always look up the homosexuality laws of the country that we're visiting. Our favorite website to do that is a site called Equaldex, and it kind of like very easily explains like the homosexuality laws, the same-sex marriage laws, and also the public opinion of the people in that country on homosexuality.
So if you are not part of the queer community, this is not something that you necessarily have to do, but when you are part of the queer community, you want to make sure that you are protecting yourself and that you're safe in every situation. And of course, we all want to travel the world, regardless of our sexuality or gender identity or appearance. So it's something that we make sure to always tell people, make sure you're doing your research. It's really important. You can know a lot just by researching a place. That way you don't have to go and have an unsafe or bad experience or traumatic experience in real life that you could have avoided just by doing a little bit of research.
In the United States, homosexuality is legal, same-sex marriage is legal, but just because of that, that doesn't mean that you might feel welcomed or accepted everywhere. Gabby and I have definitely been to certain states in the United States where we did not feel welcome, we did not feel comfortable being ourselves, and therefore we did not showcase a lot that we were in a relationship. And the same could be said the opposite as well, where you could go to a country where maybe homosexuality is legal or same-sex marriage is legal, but maybe you feel welcomed there just by the people or kind of like the vibe that you're getting from visiting that country. So we always say research first, but then also kind of like use your best judgment when you're in the place to kind of determine how safe you feel expressing either your gender identity or your sexuality or anything like that.
Okay, so now I'm gonna tell y'all the second tip, and this is a really, really important one, and it kind of has to do with the first tip that Shanna was saying before. Part of doing your research sometimes could mean making sure that you follow people online that you respect, admire, who maybe are similar to you, that also are traveling, and that you trust. Say you're following Gabby and Shanna, then you know that when we recommend a place, say we say like Key West is one of the most LGBTQ friendly places we've ever been. We were super comfortable. It was amazing. We could hold hands in public, kiss in the street, whatever it was, and we felt amazingly safe. Then you know, oh, I can trust Gabby and Shanna, and they're giving good advice. You can go to resources that we have or that other people have that you trust, and see all the different trips we've taken and what we've said the experience was like, so that you know that someone has had a similar experience before you.
We try and find out from social media or LGBTQ travel blogs or our friends who are also LGBTQ travelers who have been to that place. We asked them what their experience was, what they liked about it, what places they felt safe at, you know, if there was like a queer area that we could go visit and support the queer community there. So I think if you're on social media, just try and find queer people that you admire, that you love, that are traveling, and ask them for tips, because we love giving out our travel tips. Whenever people ask us, we're like, here you go. We have a whole list of things to give you. So I'm sure anyone would be happy to help you out. And if you have any specific questions, you could also leave some questions down in the comments. We'll be happy to answer for you. So another question that we get asked a lot is, should I travel to a country that does not necessarily support LGBTQ rights or does not have LGBTQ rights in their laws? And for that, I feel like there is no right answer. We personally believe that it really depends on the individual and how they feel about the situation. I know for Gabby and I, we have talked about this a lot, and we feel like we would love to go to any country. Of course, if there were countries where it was illegal, we wouldn't show that we were a couple, and that is, again, our privilege. However, we still feel like there are queer communities in some of these countries where it's not legal, and there are definitely ways that you can support them, whether it's like an underground scene or like a queer-owned restaurant that maybe is not super visible or something like that. So that is our personal opinion. However, the views on the other side are just as valid, but a lot of people ask us that, so we wanted to express that view.
Yeah, of course this is a personal choice, and it might, like at the end of the day, have to do a little bit with your appearance, like if you can or cannot pass in a certain situation. Of course, if we went somewhere where the laws didn't protect us, we wouldn't do anything at all, like saying that we were a couple. We, at the end of the day, think that if you're traveling somewhere, you want your priority to be safety, and that is really, really important.
Yeah, I think overall, like the overarching message here, especially as an LGBTQ traveler, is safety is your #1 priority. You should always be thinking about your safety first. And there are a lot of situations when you're traveling that you might be asked a question like, oh, is that your boyfriend? Or, oh, you know, are you two friends? Like a lot of times we get asked things like at a hotel or in a taxi, or when we're renting a motorbike, or like kind of like at a restaurant, like kind of all of these like situations where when you're living your normal everyday life, like you might feel comfortable in your own city to say, just saying, oh no, this is my girlfriend or whatever. But when you're traveling, you sometimes get asked those questions more frequently because you're new and people are trying to meet you and make friends with you and,
Yes.
you know, just be nice, basically.
These situations are totally normal. While you're traveling, people are curious about you. They've never seen you before. They're trying to be friendly, and they think that by asking some of these questions that they're like getting to know you, like, oh, do you have a boyfriend? But of course, when you're in the queer community, some of these questions, as friendly as they are, don't come off as friendly. You immediately feel afraid for your safety because it's something that when you get asked, you don't know, like when you respond, how the other person will react. So we always, like Shanna and I have had this happen to us so many times that we basically like say between us, like, you don't really owe anybody your truth. Make sure that you feel safe. You do not owe that taxi driver the truth about yourself. And if you need to say something to be safe in that situation that necessarily isn't true about yourself, you can do that.
Okay, so now we're gonna just kind of talk about some things that have happened to us while traveling. That way, if you are in a lesbian relationship or any LGBTQ relationship and you're traveling, you might kind of look out for these things and be aware that they're happening, because for us, we never even really thought that any of these instances would happen, but when they've happened, we have had to like adapt and think on the spot on how to respond to these situations. So we're going to tell you what to do so you don't have to randomly decide what to do like we did. So sometimes something that will happen is if we book a hotel online and we book one bed, when we get to the hotel desk to check in, the hotel will kind of like want to double check and make sure that we only wanted one bed, and we truly believe it just comes from a place of them wanting to just like confirm our reservation. But a lot of times it comes across as like, oh, they see us as two women and they don't think that we want a room with one bed, and they're just trying to make sure that that's correct. But for us, it always becomes an awkward situation because then we kind of have to almost like out ourselves to these people and say, no, yes, that's correct. Like we only want one bed, and it really shouldn't be like that. And it doesn't happen all the time, to be fair. It does happen occasionally. So that's something that you should just like look out for and be aware that this might happen, and maybe have a response in your back pocket in case you feel unsafe outing yourself in that situation. I think the second thing, a lot of things in hotels and accommodations are still very gendered towards men and women. So for example, we will be in a hotel that'll have like a robe and slippers, but one robe will be like a small and one robe will be like an extra large, and the slippers will be like, you know, a typical woman size, and the other slippers would be like a really large, like typical men's size. So I think that that's something that more like hotels and accommodations have to think about on their end to fix the actual issue. But until that is done, we have to deal with it as people in queer relationships. So just be on the lookout for that there are still a lot of things that are gendered, like shampoos, soaps, razors, like a lot of these all like amenities that are in the hotel are still very gendered. And you could definitely call up to the front desk and ask for things to be changed. And most hotels, especially ones that are LGBTQ friendly, have, you know, done that for us if we've asked them to do that, but we kind of just leave it and we're just like, whatever, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, and it is the kind of thing that, especially everything being so gendered like that, it can be a little bit like weird. It just doesn't give you the best feeling about a place. Like, I know, like, we've gone to hotels that we thought were nice, and then I'm like stuck in a man's robe and man's slippers, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know if this place is as inclusive as they say they are, because they're still thinking of it as like men and women, which doesn't really make you feel as welcome as other places might make you feel welcome. And I don't know about everyone else, but I hate going down to a front desk and having to like actually talk to a person to fix something that shouldn't need to be fixed. Like, so I just won't do it. So I'm like, this is not worth it. And it's frustrating, especially if you don't want to have to out yourself in certain situations about your sexuality or your gender, and then it becomes a thing where you have to go talk to someone. That's not the best. So I just want to say that all of those things are just things that we've noticed that have happened to us. In no way have any of those things ever ruined our trip. It's just something that when you're traveling, you obviously want to be aware of all the different potential things that could happen, so that you have a good time, so that you feel more comfortable, and so that you know if one of these things happens to you, how maybe you would handle it in that situation, so it doesn't just like take you by surprise and ruin your whole day. So that's what we thought that we'd let you know about those things.
We love traveling the world as a couple. It's our favorite thing to do. It's our passion. Like, we can't see us not ever doing that. I think a lot of times people in the LGBTQ community are scared to kind of leave somewhere where they feel comfortable. And that's why we exist, because we're out there showing you can go to all these places and you can be yourself and you can be comfortable, and everything will be okay, because we will obviously tell you if it's not okay.
Yeah. And queer people deserve to travel too and explore the world and have all of the amazing experiences that you can have in different countries, seeing a different side of life and a different side of how you could live your life. And I think what Shanna said earlier is so important. There are underground queer communities in every single community. We are all around the world. We are in every country, whether that country has laws helping us or fighting against us. And so I think some of those things are so important to experience, and that's one of the reasons that we also love traveling the world so much. It just opens our eyes to so many different things every time we travel somewhere new.
All right, so I think that's gonna be it for today's video. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully it was a little bit informative if you didn't know any of these things about what it's like to travel as an LGBTQ person or couple. We have so much more to say on this, so if you ever have any questions, you can always leave us a comment down below or DM us on Instagram or find us on TikTok. You can do any of that stuff, and we will make sure to answer your questions about traveling, because traveling is our life and we love it.
Yes, we also actually have a blog as well as YouTube where we have tons of travel videos.
Yes.
We have a blog. We have 27travels.com where we put tons of different like blog posts about different places we've been to, and we kind of talk about our experience there, so you can always look at that too if you're traveling somewhere and you want to see if we've been there as well.
So thank you so much for watching. Happy Pride Month, and we will see you soon with another video.
Bye!